It's good to see you again. I am Jodi Jackson. I'm a manifestation coach here at Life Coach University, and I want to welcome you. I love having my monthly PIF Talks here. It's something I really feel good about talking, to people like you with for something like paying it forward. So, and thank you for coming to Life Coach University, because we're all about paying it forward. It's the reason we do it. Really simple reason Life Coach University is here, and it's really all about love. And that's how we do it. We pay it forward. And all we ask of you is to pay it forward in your own way. We hope you get some kind of great knowledge, aha moments from these PIF Talks. I love to give them, and hopefully I can pass that on to you, and whatever way you feel comfortable with, go pass on and pay it forward any way you can. It's just another one of the languages of love, and that's what we like to do here. So thank you so much for coming. I'm really excited. Today's talk is about productivity and how imagination breeds better productivity. Probably never put those two things together, right? But we all love to be productive. I wanted to talk about something that everybody can relate to, especially in a day like today. And let's make sure. Okay, everybody can come in. And because that's what we want to do today, right? We love being productive. It makes us feel good. It takes us away from other things we don't want to do. There's all kinds of reasons that we want to be productive, and we do it a lot. So the reason I want to talk about imagination with productivity is because it's something people don't really think about putting together. And when you're having a hard time being productive, right? If you hit a wall and you don't know how to do it, you can get refreshed through imagination. You can bring down walls and open boundaries through imagination. So what I'm going to do today is start with a little bit about productivity itself. We're going to get just a little bit basic into science and how the brain works. And that'll make more sense. You'll see why when we go into talking about the imagination and how that can help with your productivity. So what is productivity? It is simply to produce. And I don't know how many of you out there think about that on that level of producing, because I know there's a lot of us out there that love to be productive, but is it because we want to produce, or is it because we just want to fill up our time? There's different reasons, but simply, in simplest terms, productivity is to produce. It involves thinking. It, whether we realize it or not, helps keep our minds and our bodies physically, spiritually, and mentally active so that we can do better. So whether you realize it or not, by producing and being productive, it's helping us. I don't know if you ever seen the commercial physics, if you stay active, or if you are active, you're going to stay active. And if you don't do anything, it's probably going to lead to more of not doing anything. Well, we're going to kind of blow that out of the water a little bit today. So more on productivity. What is it? Productivity is brainstorming, right? Productivity is making to-do lists and crossing things off them. I know I love to be able to cross things off a to-do list. It makes me feel better. I lighten my load. I get things done. Exercise. Exercise is a great way to be productive. Even though it's physical, it's helping you physically and mentally because it's also helping the mind. So you can go and be more productive, both physically and mentally into the future, right? So that's how we do it. Now, where do we like to be productive? Well, that's a pretty easy one, right? We all have jobs. We want to be productive at our work. We want to be productive in our homes, whether you're there by yourself, whether you have a partner, whether you have family. There's all kinds of ways and reasons to be productive at home. And a third one, which a lot of people don't really think of it being productivity, but it is with our social lives, right? That's another way we're productive. We have to tip the balance with our productivity of between things that we have to do and need to do to more of things we want to do, right? So we have a social life, we can go do fun things and things we want to do. And that's another way of being productive. So how are we productive at work? Well, one way is we need to get the job done to make upper management happy, right? Unless you have your own business, like I do, having a coaching company. And I just love knowing that I've thought up something and I brought it to fruition. That was great productivity. But you want to do it for yourself. You want to feel good, right? Even if it's at your job, you know, you did something well from start to finish. You're being productive in the job place, whether that's doing it on your own or in the workplace. Did you say job place? Whether you're doing it on your own, whether you're collaborating with another coworker, you're being productive in the best way that it should be done, right? So then there's the home life. What if you live by yourself? You want to keep a nice, clean, tidy home, make it feel good to inhabit, to spend all that time in. You want to feel good there, right? You want it to be nice for when people come over to your place. This is a show place for you. It's everything around you. You could see, I love plants. I love gems back there. I love the Buddha. You know, you can see things I like. Your home is a showplace of you. So you're productive in making it you. So it's really important to be productive at home. And then there's the social aspect where, like I said, you want to tip that balance and be productive with friends, family, whatever you like to do, whatever you want to do, whatever is going to set your soul on fire, make you happy, laugh, have fun, let out that lighter side of you. So you're being productive in a social way. So these are all the different ways you are being productive, right? So now let's talk about a little bit about the science side. Now we've talked about what productivity is, how we use it, when we use it, why we use it. Let's talk a little bit about the science side. So the science side is, there's two sides of our brain, right? There's actually a lot more sides of our brain, but to keep it as simplistic as possible, I'm going to say there's the two sides. And one of them is an analytical side, and the other side is a creative side. And maybe you've also heard, like if you're left-handed versus right-handed, you use the opposite side of the brain. And you could take quizzes to find out which side you are and which you're more of. And so, for instance, me, I am left-handed. So you'd say, oh, okay, I use the right side of my brain. That is the more creative side. The left side is the more analytical side. So you look into those two types of things and see which you are. Well, in more recent years, scientists have debunked the whole right and left side of the brain thing and said, nope, that's not the way it is. It's more of just a connection of the brain and where those connections go to in the brain, right? So the reason I'm talking about this, the connections happen because of our thoughts. We have a thought, and these little electrodes and magnetic impulses go on in our brain, and they make these pathways to different parts of our brain, depending on the thoughts we have. The more we have that thought, the more these pathways are made, the stronger they're made, the wider they're made. So things start to automatically go down these pathways, right? So what's happening is it becomes a habit, right? I've sort of touched on what I'm going to speak of now on other talks that I've had, but it still applies to productivity and imagination. So things become habits, thoughts become habits. And for instance, you look at somebody, right? Or you see a television show on TV or whatever it is, and you make an automatic judgment, right? It just comes up. That judgment is there. That is there because you've made that pathway in your brain so strong that you have the thought, and your brain doesn't even give you time to think something. It's like, oh, that thought, this is the pathway, and it just goes there. And that's why we automatically have that judgment about a person or whatever it is, right? So it's not so left right brained, it's the connections and how we make them in the brain with the pathways that we choose to make, right? So with that being said, that can change. That does not have to stay that way. That's the good news. And the way that happens is with our imaginations. There's other ways that could happen, but today, for the sake of what I'm talking about, we're going to talk about that changing through imagination, right? Because if you're talking about productivity and you hit a wall and you can't think of what to do anymore, you've asked people, nobody can think of it. Let's say you write books and you're sitting at the computer and you're writing your chapters, and all of a sudden you've seen it in movies where the authors, they can't think of what to write anymore. They've hit that wall. There's nothing else they could think of. So what do? You maybe get up, you walk around, you go someplace else. You have some coffee or one of those energy drinks, maybe something will come into your mind. Nothing works. Well, imagination is what helps that. But unfortunately, as adults, we don't think of imagination like we used to when we were children, right? When we hit that wall, imagination is not something we think of to try and use to get our productivity churning again and moving it out and going further. Here's why it will. Imagination broadens our minds. It takes down walls and it busts through boundaries. And it does that all because we're not giving ourselves any boundaries. To have an imagination, you need to start relaxed. So the definition of imaginations is thoughts and perceptions that we have that we normally would not think of. Imagination is thoughts and perceptions that we would not normally think of. So how do you get there if you don't normally think about it, right? How are you even going to start to think these things? Well, there's ways to do that. When we were kids, I know when I was a kid anyway, hopefully this was never said to you, but I'm sure it's still out there somewhere. If you're sitting in class or you're sitting at home or at the dinner table, if you're lucky enough to eat with your family, you start daydreaming, you go off and you start daydreaming. And a parent or somebody says to you, stop daydreaming, be more productive, stop doing that. Well, I'm here to tell you, daydreaming is just one form of imagination, right? Daydreaming, the dreaming you do at night, all imagination. And the more you let something like that happen, the more your mind is going to open up, right? So throw that all away about the daydreaming. That is one of the first things that you could start doing. And how many kids do that in school when they're in class, right? They get bored. They start daydreaming. One of the ways to start using your imagination is to get bored. Stop what you're doing. Don't let yourself think negatively. That's like my first rule of thumb is when you stop thinking, the first thoughts that come to your head can very well be negative thoughts. Super easy way to keep that from happening. Just think of something you love instead. Think of something that you want to do. If you're, maybe you're where you're at and you rather not do it, you rather be there. Think of that place. Think of something you love. Think of something you're passionate about. Just start thinking about that. Let yourself go. Daydream, go off into another place. Let it happen as long as it does. There's no time limit here. So when you know you want to do this on purpose, give yourself a time and a place where there is no time limit, right? But if you're in a place where you can't, it's not a bad thing. Let yourself do it for a minute or two. See how it feels. So for all of you people out there that think, I don't have much of an imagination, I am an analytical thinker, I don't do that. If you've ever daydreamed before, if you ever just thought something else and have to bring yourself back to what you were thinking about, that's imagination. So you just haven't let yourself keep going, right? So that's what you want to start doing now that you know what that is. So let's get back to children and how they think. I want to tell you a story about a child and what he was able to do that no adult could think of. Experts. There was a truck that got stuck under a bridge. It had no business, as tall as it was, going under that bridge, but it did. It was on a smaller road off the highway. That bridge had been there for a very, very long time. And nobody knew what to do. They got experts to come in. They didn't want to hurt the bridge. They were trying and trying, being analytical, thinking of all these different things they could try. All they could come up with were ways and how they would have to do something to the bridge. And then that would lead to having to restructure the bridge. So they would have to close it down, and then there would be construction and people couldn't use it. And it was just a snowball of things that they didn't want to happen until a child comes along. The child walks up to the bridge, just looks at it, kind of gets the lay of the land. It was just a child with their mother that happened to be there in the area. Gets the lay of the land, looks at it, thinks about it for a second. And he goes up to a guy, pulls on his sleeve and says, "Excuse me, what if you took the air out of those tires down there and it lowered? Then would it be able to get out from under the bridge?" That's all it took. Nothing had to be done to the bridge. and everything went back to normal. They figured it out. It took a child to figure that out. Why? Why? Because a child uses their imagination. And the more you use your imagination, your mind expands, and you're not getting those walls or feeling those boundaries. Albert Einstein said, knowledge is much more important. Sorry, getting it wrong. Imagination is much more important than knowledge. Imagination is much more important than knowledge. All the imagination he had, right? He had all that knowledge, but he was such a good imaginary thinker. How do you think he got all that knowledge? Right? We don't, we think of him as just being this really smart man. We don't think of how they get there. He was not a very smart man. He did not get very good grades in school. It was his imagination that got him where he got to, right? He was able to think outside that box because of his imagination. That's where he got. So, how can you use your imagination? There's so many different ways. The thing is, if you're not used to using it, you start small and you practice just like anything else. If you've seen any other of my PIF Talks, I say the same thing over and over and over again. You practice and you make things a habit, right? The more you practice, the more you make it a habit, the more pathways you're going to get swirling around your brain, making them bigger and bigger, and making the ones that never served you smaller and smaller. So you're going to get used to using the things that are helping you and get rid of those pathways in the brain that never really served you in the first place. So different ways to use your imagination. We started with being bored, right? Being bored and daydreaming. Now, those are things that you're not thinking about, right? You're kind of letting your subconscious is taking over, right? Boy, I'm all flubby today. I apologize for that. Yeah, you're letting that take over. But what are things you can do consciously? Have you ever danced when no one was looking? Have you ever closed doors, put down your shades and your windows like I have here? I have it down so the light's not coming in so much today, but put everything down if you don't want anyone to see, and you put on your favorite music and you just start moving. Just move around. This is the way I like to move. I like to move slow and fluid, and you just move around. Maybe you like to really dance, dance how you really like to dance, to your favorite music. Just dance and let your mind go. When you're in a place like that, your mind is not going to go to a negative place. Your mind is going to go to a happy place. Do you see yourself dancing on a stage in front of lots of people? Do you see yourself, with people cheering you on, she's an amazing dancer. Oh my God, and just let yourself go with dancing. Maybe you're not so much of a dancer, maybe you don't do that much movement. Maybe you are a different kind of feeling person. If you're lucky enough to have a park around you with a lake, go sit by the water. Feel the air on your skin. Listen to the sounds that you can hear. Maybe you'll have birds. Maybe you'll have people with dogs walking by. Listen to them. Maybe even let your imagination go enough that Say hi to those animals you see, squirrels, birds, dogs, say hello to them. How was your day? Let your imagination run wild. That's how it starts. That's all it takes, right? So, what else? There's the dancing, there's going outside. Do you like gardening? I'm trying to come up with things that you may like. Think of what you like, go and do them, and just start thinking things in your head. If you've ever heard, be in the now, don't be back there, that's regret. Don't be in the future, that's just thinking what if. Stay right here, right now, and be in what you're doing. Well, if in your yard and you're gardening, you can be thinking of exactly what you are doing in the moment. Are you working in the dirt? How does it feel? Is it warm? Is it cold? Are there bugs or worms in there? What's the texture? What's the feeling outside? What else is around you? Anything that you can think of is what's going to spark your imagination. And if you're not letting it go, if you're not able to let it go, that's just simply telling you you're not relaxed and you need to be in a different place, in a different space. What are you holding on to in the moment that you need to let go of? If you're not sure what that is, just sit there for a moment. I'm even imagining you right now because the last thing we talked about was gardening. I'm imagining stopping what I'm doing. I'm just going to sit back on the grass, on the dirt, wherever I am. If it's been raining out in the mud, close my eyes, take some breaths, and realize how I'm feeling. Maybe you want to relax your jaw. Maybe you're realizing that your tongue is on the roof of your mouth. Let it go. Relax your shoulders. Slowly open your eyes and go back to what you were doing. Everybody's different. You're all going to be different. Different things are going to call to you for what you're going to want to do to ground yourself, to put yourself in a space where you are relaxed. And you can start daydreaming, start be bored, start to dance, to garden, to go walk in a park, sit in a park, whatever it is that you want. Go walk your dog, pet your cat. Cats have a vibration with their purring that makes us happier. If you can use that to put you in a good space, whatever it is for you to start and be in a good space, your imagination will take off and it will stretch your boundaries. It will bring down those walls. One amazing thing it does is it makes you comfortable with change. We're also scared of change. We rather stay where we are in our unhappiness. And I put myself in this too. That's why I'm saying we. I'm not just saying it to make you feel better. We rather stay in our discomfort than go and find out what's going to make us happier out there. But when you use your imagination and you stretch your brain and you bring down those walls where you feel like you've hit that wall and you can't do any more, you bring down that wall, you go through it and hear something new that you've never seen before. Maybe you'll have some aha or light bulb moments and boom, you know what to do. Without you even realizing, that has put you in a new place and you're comfortable with it. You're okay with it. So I know it's a jump to say imagination causes change, but that's how. Imagination, all the things it does for your mind, you're comfortable with change. That widens your scope even more. So look how much imagination does for us. The thing that we tell our kids in general, especially here in the West, in the United States, stop imagining and get to work. What we should really be saying is use your imagination for your work, right? Doesn't that sound better now? Let them do what they're good at. Use your imagination. When I see children now and I see them color outside the lines, I tell them how wonderful they're doing. Why? Because you want them to grow up comfortable, feeling like whatever they're doing is amazing. And they're going to feel good, and they're going to grow up, and they're going to keep using that imagination more and more and more. Think about it. Who are the people that are so successful, right? Steve Jobs, so successful. All these other people in computers, in technology, successful. People that are innovators, successful. Why? Because it started with imagination. They use their imaginations. And not only do they use their imaginations, they're comfortable with change because of it. So when they make something and the world starts changing, they know they need to change their product. And they know how to do it because they're comfortable with change. And they use their imagination to know what to do. So how can you use your imagination to get what you want, to produce what you want, whether it be in the job, right, in the workplace, whether it's for your own company or whether you work for someone else, or you want to help a coworker? How can you help them using your imagination? How can you help using your imagination in your home, with your partner, with your family, your children, to get them to be the best they can be and the best collaborators you can be together to have a happy home? And how can you use your imagination for just you, so you can be the best person and the joyful person that you want to be? So I hope I've made a little bit of sense here today. I hope I've given you some ideas, maybe something you haven't thought of before. This is my way of paying it forward to you. So go out there and pay it forward any way you want to do it. What can you use your imagination for to go out and pay it forward to somebody else? You can let me know. I love to know these things. Life Coach University loves to know these things. So feel free to get on Life Coach University's site and let them know how you've been paying it forward. If you've seen any other PIF Talks, or if this is your first one, how you're going to pay it forward. Hopefully I've inspired you. If you want to get in touch with me, I love to help. It's what my passion is. It's why I love to be here and just do this for paying it forward and nothing more, right? This is part of my imagination. So you can get in touch with me at my website. It's Restore You Coaching and Reiki, all small. RestoreYouCoachingandReiki.com is my website. You can see that from my business page on Facebook, same thing. If you want to go to just my regular Facebook page, see a little bit more of what I'm about, fine. That's Jodi Jackson on Facebook. You can pretty much find me anywhere there. Restore You is my handle on Instagram. And if you want to email me privately, that's fine too. It is Jodi, Jodik, Jackson @gmail.com. It's Jodi K Jackson @gmail.com. You can also get to me through my website. So I hope you have a beautiful day. I'm wondering how you're going to be using your imaginations in the future. Please let me know. I'd love to hear it. And I will see you soon. Take care. Have an imaginary day. Bye.